Hello, guys, and welcome back to our Top Prospect Rankings Talk podcast. I'm here with Draftday 101, and today we're going to go over the cornerback positions. And so let's get to it. Who is your number one overall corner prospect you got, Draftday?
I have Justin Gilbert, with a cornerback out of Oklahoma State. 6 foot, 6 foot, 202 pounds. Ran a really good 40-yard dash time at the combine. Justin Gilbert, pretty much right now, is a consensus, like almost like they say, with rumors are like 28 out of the 32 teams that you consider Justin Gilbert as a top consistent cornerback. So that pretty much says that majority of teams, NFL teams, view Justin Gilbert as a top corner. So do a lot of draft nicks, draft sites. You pretty much go around the board. Justin Gilbert's been the top guy pretty much since the offseason. He's kind of fought for me because I wasn't a Justin Gilbert guy to start off. I believe in the preseason I had him ranked like somewhere around number 6. And I really wasn't convinced about Justin Gilbert because as sophomore Justin Gilbert, first round talent. Junior Justin Gilbert, he looked borderline awful. He looked like a mid-rounder. Senior year Justin Gilbert, he recovered. He looked just like as good as he was the year before. But that junior year, I always kind of questioned why wasn't he as good. But at the same time, he rebounded this year.
Right. And so, what is your general perspective over this? Let's get to this cornerback group. Stack up to other years. What is it? How do you compare it to like the Patrick Petersons or the Joe Hayden drafts? Like, is there a consensus top 5 cornerback in this group at all?
There's a bunch of really good starting cornerbacks. We usually have at this time one set corner that's just elite above all other. I don't really consider Justin Gilbert by the far the best corner. If I have a choice to take Justin Gilbert in the first round or maybe take Bradley Roby in the second round, I'm going to take Justin Gilbert. I'm going to take Bradley Roby in the second round over Justin Gilbert. I mean, like, Justin Gilbert is not an elite level cornerback. I would almost be hesitant to almost pass on him because there's pretty good corners in this draft class, and I don't think Justin Gilbert's special outside of maybe his kick return ability. As a pure cornerback, he's probably a little bit more of a poor man's Patrick Peters.
Right. And so, what zone schemes does he? I mean, not zones, but like what kind of uh position, not position, but like tendencies he's good with. Like, can he do a zone? Can he do man to man? Is he a press
Yeah,
corner?
yeah, he doesn't excel in press coverage, but he excels in if you're playing him off the zone and he doesn't have to make a bunch of tackles in space and all of that. Because he ultimately he uses his speed and his athleticism, and that's his advantage over a lot of wide receivers and quarterbacks. I mean, in the passing game, that's where he excels. He's very similar to what I remember a few years back looking at Terrence Newman back at Kansas State. That's the kind of a guy he was like. Great kick returner, great athlete. He uses his natural abilities to make up for a lot of the things. He's probably not the best for as far as if you're going to be a true zone Tampa 2 type of team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or how Minnesota was the year before. He doesn't really fit that mold of the Tampa 2, but at the same time, he's more of your off-man coverage. He's not the best press corner either. And despite his long arms, people think that he's automatically a good press corner. Receivers have gotten out a little bit more physical with him. Doesn't fit every system. Unlike some of these corners, I think that are below him do fit every system.
Right. And so, what is his pro comparison? Who is his pro comparison? Is you said Terrence Newman?
Yeah, that's a guy who plays very similar to him. I think I drew that as well as his pro comparison. I remember him coming out of Kansas State. He used a lot of his speed and a lot of those type of things. Like in the Cowboys, once he started losing that speed, he became a really subpar cornerback. Like that's what ended up like costing the Cowboys getting to the playoffs almost. It was the poor play of Terrence Newman. In Cincinnati, he was able to refine himself, get back to maybe even being a little bit more of a technician, starting to learn those type of things at a later age. And that's how he's been able to rebound a little bit. But Terrence Newman, his first few years, it was all talent, all speed, and he made a living off of that. Once he got a little bit older, started declining a little bit
Right.
as well.
And so now we go to our number 2, your number 2 ranked corner, and who is that? Who do you have
I
there?
have Kyle Fuller, and this is a guy I've liked for quite a while. Like I think I had him ahead of like a lot of cornerbacks a long time ago. Like people are just starting to see Kyle Fuller as a first round cornerback.
Right.
I always saw Kyle Fuller as a first round cornerback, borderline, always in there. You know.
Yeah, you were high on him, but way before most of these, draft nicks, these pro draft nicks on TV, Jeremiah and all the Daniel Jeremiah or Mel Kiper. You told me about him, and I watched tape on him, and yeah, there is something about that kid that he is going to be a first round pick, or should be at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so go on your evaluation on him.
Like if you turn on the Georgia Tech game, that tells you what type of football player. He was going right between the A and B gap. That means between the center and the guard. He was going up there and blowing up the plays from there. And then at another play, he would have to contain the edge, and he was making that play. You look at that Georgia Tech game tape, it tells you that he's a football player first. You turn on the Alabama game, he dominated a bunch of highly talented guys. A.J. McCarron's going to be in the NFL. He made A.J. McCarron look like a very low-quality quarterback, one-on-one, and he dominated even a dominant wide receiver such as Amari Cooper. I mean, like, this guy, tape after tape after tape, and he's always shown that he is a consistent guy. He's a technician. He has everything that you look. He fits almost every scheme. I just prefer him not to be as much on an island as possible. He would rather, if you're going to play, like, between who's going to get the safety help, I'd rather it be Kyle Fuller, because there are wide receivers out there, Deshaun Jackson, they can blow the top off of a team. You don't want him going one-on-one against that guy.
Right. And so who is your pro player comparison for Kyle Fuller?
A guy that I also that saw very similar to him was Jonathan Joseph, the old South Carolina cornerback, Cincinnati Bengals, Houston Texans.
Right, that's a good comparison. And Kyle Fuller, the tape that stuck out to me, the Georgia Tech tape, but then there's a play on the Alabama game that he looks like he got beat on I believe it's like an in route, and then I
still remember that play, and then he jumps right Amari Cooper to intercept that pass.
Yeah, he just straight up jump and blocks, and you're like, I thought he was beat. No, he has some.
He baited him into making that throw.
Yeah, and then also the big block he did for his brother on one of the returns for Alabama. He's also he's
willing to get scrappy out there and hit. I mean, like there's not always all those corners. Some of these corners are just pure cover guys. He's not just a cover cornerback, because once you lose your speed, some of these guys are not going to be as good. I'm not worried about Kyle Fuller 8 years down the line,
Right. And so now let's get to your third cornerback ranking, and who is that?
I have the number 3 corner. I have Jason Verrett. I mean, when I did these evaluations, of course, I didn't know what the medical situation with Jason Verrett, but at the combine, it came out that he's going to require a surgery on his shoulder. There was a slight chance, because that's why he wanted to hold it off and he wanted to participate at the combine. There was the doctors at the combine told him there's a slight chance that you don't even need surgery if you do certain exercises. And then in the end of the day, he still needed surgery. So he's going to get surgery. He's going to be ready by training camp, but he's going to miss a lot of rookie OTAs and stuff like that. Little minor thing that might drop a little bit for other teams, because coaches want the guys already in there, especially the first round pick. I'll say this: if Jason Verrett was 6 foot tall, even 5'11", and he wasn't 5'9" or 5'8", he'd be a first round pick.
Right. Yeah.
All his measurement. The only thing his biggest knock is his height. He won't match up very well against the big wide receivers. Everybody wants Richard Sherman. Everybody wants that. Nobody wants the guy who's going to be able to cover Wes Welker. They want the big, long corners. They're seeing what Seattle did, and them being able to defend back shoulder fades.
Right. And the biggest knock on him is his size, but not his play. at all. And so, do you have a pro player comparison for Jason Verrett?
I actually love this comparison, and this was a guy I was really high on when he was coming out of the draft. Brandon Flowers out of Virginia Tech, now with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
I really like Brandon Flowers. I had him as a first round pick, even though he didn't go in the first round. I always rated him as a first rounder, but Brandon Flowers is somebody that I have compared to favorably.
Right. And so now we're getting into the player four and down. What is there? When is the drop off for you at the cornerback? So what number is a drop off for you?
It's probably 5.
Five.
I mean, there's actually a separation between Darqueze Dennard and Bradley Roby. It's not huge though, but there's a separation. But after 5, that's when you're starting to get with guys. I'm like, is he really a starting corner? Do I really take him in the second round? I don't have a strong feeling, because after that there's a big drop off. There's probably one second round rated corner, and then the rest are like third and fourth rounders. And there's a big clog of those guys.
Right. And so now you've revealed your fourth, I guess, is Darqueze Dennard out of Michigan State. What does he excel at? What is your evaluation on him?
Darqueze Dennard, he's the physical man-to-man, press, jam. I'm gonna take you out, kind of like Quentin Jammer was. He'd fight through the line of scrimmage with you. I mean, that's what he does. He's not going to be a zone corner. He doesn't use his eyes well. He has a lot of deficiencies, I would say. But at the outside, you need those corners. It's just going to be straight physical. He has above average size. He has pretty good hips. He can turn, but he's not the best backpedaler. But if you just need that guy who's going to line up one-on-one with against that wide receiver that's just giving you a headache, Darqueze Dennard might be your guy.
Right, and who is his pro player comparison for him?
I drew his comparison to Dante Starks, the cornerback out of Miami. He played with the Baltimore Ravens, the Arizona Cardinals, the New England Patriots, and the Oakland Raiders. Similar type of player, very physical. He'll take on your best wide receiver. It doesn't matter who it is. Helped the Baltimore Ravens win that Super Bowl, I believe, in 2001.
Right, yeah.
He was part of that 2001 team. He was part of one of the young guys back then. But his career afterwards started shelling off once he started losing some of that. But at the same time, he never had blazing speed to start with. And I think this is the same thing with Darqueze Dennard. Questions about his speed are still there, but at the same time, for the first few years, you can get away with it because he has enough of it. But once you start losing it a little bit, is he still going to be able to play corner? Maybe not.
Right, and so now you said there's going to be a separation between Darqueze Dennard and your number 5 choice, Bradley Roby, and why is that? What's the separation between these two?
Bradley Roby is the most talented cornerback, hands down, in this draft. If you just said just stack up their talent, let's run 40s, let's put them in gym shorts, let's see them backpedal, and you don't include tape, Bradley Roby is clearly the best cornerback. But once you watch him on tape this year, I saw him blind. He was awful. I just can't get over some of the games that were out there, like the Michigan State game. I was not impressed by him. You go out and you look at the Northwestern game. He didn't look very good on that game, as well as the Wisconsin game. Those 3 games right there stand out. Those were the first 3 games I went back to look at, and he was awful. I mean, like, there was a few games like the Cal game that he looked good, but at the same time, it just seems like he was using his physical ability, not his there. He has very poor vision. He's not a very effort tackle guy. I mean, like, he makes sloppy plays, and he takes chances on balls. Sometimes he'll intercept the pass, and then sometimes he'll end up being he takes unnecessary risks, I'll say. That's the best way I could possibly explain his ball skills. He takes unnecessary risks. Just knock it down. Don't try to make too big of a play. He'll try to intercept the pass, misjump it, and the wide receiver beats him. Bradley Roby's had a lot of that problem. I'm not a fan of Bradley Roby as much as everybody else is. I still could see him going to the first round because he's a first-round talent. But on tape, he did not show me that this year.
Yeah, and in coming up to the season, he was the a top 10 pick. People thought he was going to be a lock. He will be the number one corner coming in so far into this season, into this draft. But now he has really digressed since then. He is now
Yeah.
he is now looked at as a early second round, really late first round guy. And I've seen what you said. Talent. Put him in gym shorts, put him in all that. He's the best. Other than that, if you put on his game tape, you're like, whoa, it's a different dude.
Yeah. I mean, the year before, he kind of fooled a lot of people because he played pretty well down the line, at first early, and he was making these big time plays using his talent. But at some point, you're going to have to show that you have great vision. And it showed. Even I went back to the sophomore team. There was signs of this, but it was really clear to us once we really started breaking him down and teams started really finding his little exposure. Ohio State this year struggled on defense, not because of talent, but more so because of not being in the right place and not doing this. They probably might have even been in a national championship had they not been their poor play on the defensive side. Bradley Roby didn't help.
Right. And now, what is his pro player comparison you have for him?
I didn't come up with one off the top of my head, but I'm going to have to come up with one right now on the top of my head because I would give him maybe I don't want to do this to him, but
Go ahead.
Say false. I don't want to do this to him because I think he's a better player than this guy. But I see some of the same deficiency as Philip Buchanan, the Oakland Raiders cornerback.
Right, and Redskins corner.
For the Miami Hurricanes, he had outstanding speed, great coverage ability. Great coverage ability, but never played up to it. Was really blind. Was really. I don't want to say blind, but he didn't have very good vision. He did well in his rookie season. He was advanced for a little bit, but then teams started seeing his flaws. He got exposed. Philip Buchanan kind of reminded me a little bit of Bradley Roby. I don't want to put it as his pro comparison, but that's kind of somebody who reminds me of him.
Right, and now we go into your big drop off, as you said, from 5 to 6, and is it what number 6 through what? What numbers do these range to?
6 to 12.
Right.
Pretty close.
And now let's get to it. Who is your number 6 guy?
I have Stanley Jean-Baptiste, the cornerback out of Nebraska. Long arm cornerback, doesn't have the great speed, but at the same time, long arms, stiff arm. Not stiff arm, press. He can bump you in your chest. He can do all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's what you want nowadays with the Richard Shermans and the Brandon Browners and what you guys got from the Seattle guys.
Pretty much, yeah. And what do you have any pro player comparisons for these 6 through 12 guys, or not really?
I didn't draw any of them off but I would have to do one from the top of my head.
If you could, you don't have to. If you don't have it down, then we won't do it because you need the 6 to 12 guys. But what is his what's it round? Like what round is he projected to be drafted in? You see,
I would probably say he's more of where he's projected to go is more of a second round, but I have more of a third round type of a player.
Right, and now
there are times that Dark Twisted, Stanley Jean-Baptiste. It doesn't look all that great, especially in off coverage. He's pretty much limited to one role. If you play a press coverage man-to-man like Seattle does, and a lot of teams are trying to go to, and even the New England Patriots have talked about going into this type of a defense. Stanley Jean-Baptiste is the type of corner you want, but outside of that, I really don't see that great one.
Right. And so, what is your number 7? We'll do it quickly. 7 through 12. What are your player rankings, and which one stands out to you the most out of all those guys?
I have Keith McGill, the cornerback out of Utah. It's a little bit of a sleeper right now. A lot of people, I know he's probably not going to go as high. I have Walt Atkins, the cornerback out of Liberty.
Right.
A tremendous athlete. Pierre Desir from Lindenwood. Jalen Watkins out of Florida, who I thought that there was no chance of him surpassing the cornerbacks, his fellow cornerbacks at Florida, but he's been able to do that. E.J. Gaines out of Missouri, Vic Hampton, and Phil. Yeah, I'll just say Vic Hampton, so number 12. Yeah.
Right. And so, which one out of this particular group, the 6 through 12, sticks out to you the most? Which one do you see as it's going to be a good cornerback out of this group?
Atkins.
Yeah, and then I believe
Atkins, the cornerback out of Liberty, I love him. He's a basketball player. He's a tremendous athlete. He can leap out of the building. He ran a 4.44. He's 6'1", 205 pounds. When you just look at him, you see great talent. And then when you go on, I've seen some of Liberty's football games, and he's really a standout. It's not like he's out there like doing that. I mean, like if you type in YouTube and you go on Walt Atkins dunk, you'll see some of the amazing dunks that this guy is able to do. He's a tremendous athlete. I mean, like, and I think he'll transfer beautifully to the football field. Walt Atkins has definitely been one of those guys. I would almost say as a prospect crush.
Right, and you also said that he was a combine snub, I believe, right?
Yeah, he was clearly a combine snub because I think that he would have tore it up in the combine. He would have threw some numbers that would have kind of impressed me, considering his height, weight, and speed. Even at the Senior Bowl, when he got an invite, he looked good. East West Shrine, all of it, the whole circuit. He's proven. He's had a checklist in my board. People can sleep on him all they want because they didn't pay attention to Liberty, but I'm not going to do that.
Right, and do you have a preferred scheme that he can work with? What is his best scheme he can fit in?
I think that he has the ability to play any scheme, but at the same time, he has a little bit some rawness in his hips. He still needs to get a little bit looser. He still needs to get a little bit quicker. But I think that he could play pretty much any scheme, but maybe not a Tampa 2 type of scheme. I think he could play, but it's not his best suit, though.
Right. And so now we'll get to 13 through 15, I believe, and you just name me off those players. And what round do you have those players projected to be at?
Okay. Number 13, I have Philip Gaines, the cornerback out of Rice. He's projected more so as a fourth-round pick. I have Ross Crockwell, the cornerback out of Duke, who had a really good, exceptional game against Texas A&M. He's as well as a fourth-round pick. Antoine Exum, who's pretty much missed the majority of the year, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech. He's a fifth-round pick. Aaron Colvin, who got injured in the Senior Bowl, he's also a fifth-round pick. Rasheed Breeland, the cornerback out of Clemson, he fell down a little bit as of late as well, too, for me, even though he's raising up the board in other people's rankings. Mine, he's kind of fell a little bit. Dante Johnson, the cornerback out of North Carolina State, he's a fifth-round pick as well, too. Lucius Purifoy, who I had originally in the first round in the preseason, he's now a fifth round. Dion Buchanan out of Alabama. So that's my top 20 right now, and 21 is Marcus Robeson from the cornerback out of Florida.
Right, and so there's some players I believe that you said you liked out of the top 20 behind them. Is there that you wanted to talk and discuss about? And so go ahead. What are the cornerbacks that you outside of your top 20 that you wanted to talk about?
I wanted to talk. There was a couple of them. Shaquille Richardson, the cornerback out of Arizona. He's not a starter today, but 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, we'll look back and we'll say, well, why didn't we draft Shaquille Richardson in earlier rounds, maybe the first 2 days? Shaquille Richardson, I think, is that guy that right now because he's checked in the list. He was so awful his freshman and sophomore years that he kind of was slept on a little bit his senior year, his final campaign. He had a pretty good, solid season. I went back on the tape and I looked at Arizona. He was pretty solid. And then in the East-West Shrine game, I said, this guy is just a ball hawk. I mean, like, this guy and Wood was making plays. And every scout was raving about him, about Shaquille Richardson. Plays out in Arizona, maybe because it's a little bit later, Pac-12, not the rest of the nation knows about Shaquille Richardson. Down the line, look at him. And I'll throw another guy out there, too, also, as Quan Cox, the cornerback, will be a solid nickel in the NFL. from Jackson State. Solid guy, tough. He does everything you need to do. There's nothing special about his game, but everything's good in his game. So those are the type of guys you can actually live with. Those are the two prospects right there that I kind of wanted to abbreviate about that are going to be picked probably in the later rounds.
Right, and so now there's some cornerbacks in some of these drafts that we've seen that have made they've been played better at safety, as the State safety or was Saint safety, Malcolm Jenkins, I believe, right, that played corner at Ohio State but played safety. Is there any corner prospects here that you believe will be a better safety than corner?
I believe that there's I have one that's opposite, but at the same time, if you're asking that question, I believe Antoine Exum could also as well play a safety role, and I mean, he's not on my list right now, but I think that he could also play corner or safety. He has versatility. LaMarcus Joyner, I rated him as a safety, but LaMarcus Joyner, he could also play stick there in the nickel package and cover your Wes Walkers. Or be there, the Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, I was going to say he is the Tyrann Mathieu of this draft right now. Yeah. Except without the off-field issues. He's the Tyrann Mathieu of this draft. He can do everything and anything for you.
A guy also that I rated as a cornerback, but he played a lot of safety, but I think that his talents say that they should probably maybe even try him at corner first before they started trying, is Brock Vereen, the safety /cornerback from Minnesota. I have him ranked as a cornerback. Most people have him as a safety, but I'm intrigued in the possibilities of him playing cornerback. Because when I saw him at the combine and how he backpedaled and all this type of things, when I got to look at Brock Vereen, he looks like a cornerback. I might want to try him out first. If it doesn't work out, training camp, we can just switch him right there to safety. He's probably going to be a mid-round draft pick, so there's not that big of a risk of taking your time with this guy.
Right. And so one final question and evaluation on our corners. Who out of this cornerback group do you believe is going to be the stick out? Who's going to stick out the most out of this group?
Day one is Kyle Fuller. A long-term, there's a reason why I rated Justin Gilbert a little bit higher, because he is the most talented and he had the most consistent tape, Justin Gilbert. But day one, if I had to put my bet on who's going to probably make most all-rookie teams, Kyle Fuller is the guy.
Right. And so that will do it for today's cornerback rankings. You heard our first 5 picks that were consistently, and then there was a big drop-off, a little bit of a separation between 4 and 5 between Darqueze Dennard and Roby. Then there was a big drop-off for from 5 to 6, and then 6 through 12. And then there were some late-round prospects that Draftday talked about, and Quan Cox and it was the other Shield Richardson, yeah. And so now that will do it for today's cornerback prospect rankings. Please give a like to this video, follow and subscribe to Draftday 101. Follow him on Twitter. He gives hell of advice and he gives very good prospects ranking. Check out his other videos and other podcasts of us. And our next position podcast will be Draft Day. What would it be?
Wide receivers.
Oh, and this is one of the most intriguing group, if not the intriguing group of this class, I would have to say.
It's a deep group.
It's really deep. I mean, there's some top level
talent. Our longest podcast.
Probably so, but there's the wide receiver class, and stick around and wait till the next video, Draft Day, where we give out the wide receiver rankings, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a hefty and long podcast on that one, because there are some players I like and I want to chime in on some players on that podcast, and also I'm pretty sure Draft Day will give a great analysis on those particular prospects there. But that is it for now. See y'all next time.